Hello everyone, welcome to RedBus channel. In this video, we'll look at the latest proposed rule by DHS that has just come out, where they plan to put an additional $103,265 per cap subject petition. So this is something that just came out a few hours ago. So this is what we'll cover in this video. How the whole thing will work, what's the news, how DHS actually came up with that number and where the money would go, and how is this related to the 100K proclamation fee, and what actually all of these means for employers and what happens next in the process and all of these, right? So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. So in fact, if you looked at our this week's summary weekly update video that we did yesterday, you could have seen that there is a something about additional H1B fee that was approved by the OMB, but we didn't expect this to come right today. But just now, earlier today, DHS actually published press release as well as a proposed rule with a lot of text where they're saying that they would charge a new fee of $103,265 for every H1B cap subject petition. And this is on top of all existing fees. So if a company is paying, certain set of fees, be it the fraud detection fees and, application fees and all of that. So this would be on top of that, right? And it applies to both regular cap and the master's cap. And again, this is a proposed rule, just to be very, very clear. This is not a law yet. It's currently under, published. It will be published in Federal List tomorrow. And what they'll do is there'll be 30 days where people can submit comments, and then, it actually then goes to the next steps. We look at that in the next steps, what it looks like, right? So now how does this work, right? So the fee follows up, basically it is applicable for regular cap petitions. Essentially, if you are somebody who's going through H1B lottery, it will be applicable to you. For example, if you are applying from outside of the US and looking for H1B, it applies to you. If you're already in the US and also applying with a master's quota, it also applies to you, and it applies to all the startups, small firms, non-profits, everybody is included. And it also applies to change of status as well as consular cap petitions, right? And who would not apply this new fee, right? Is cap exempt employees. For example, if you are typical cap exempt, right? Universities, non-research profits, all of these, right? Government research organizations, they're not subject to this. And also for extensions, it doesn't apply. For transfers, it doesn't apply, or any of the related H and L, it doesn't apply. So essentially, it doesn't apply to somebody with H1B who already have an H1B or who's exempt from these things, right? And how did DHS actually came up with this such a huge number, right? So what they've done is essentially, if you see the table 11 that we see here, right? So DHS actually put up all of these calculations that the cost of all the 6 agencies, USAID, ICs, CBP, all of them, and they said that this is the number of how much millions it will cost them per year. That's the numbers they come up with, and essentially they came up with they would need a number of about $8 billion, right, to match that. So what they did is that they essentially multiplied that 85, divided that by this number of agencies, and then they said, if you propose this amount of fee, then you would get to this number. So what they will do once they get this number, they are going to distribute in this particular share percentages, so that, and the whole rationale of DHS is that it's going to cost us a lot of money to implement all of these. So in interdepartmental costs and all sorts of things. So basically, all of these things they put together and say that it's going to really because DHS is a USAID is a fee-funded organization, we want to pass it on to some of them, and they also go after some of these things, claiming employers, could pay $100,000 to $200,000 per hire. So all of these, essentially they try to frame it in such a way that it's something that they can pass it on to H1B applicants, so that they can actually fund these entire organizations. And this is how the number will be distributed, and this is how. So all the money that comes in, right, of the $8 billion that come in, of that about almost $3 billion would go into the USCIS, put 34% of that, and the rest of them would go to immigration courts, because this is how many positions are there, and rest 30% would go to the Department of Labor, and then $1 billion would go to ICE, and the remaining for consular operations, vetting, and all of that. So all of these, I think that's the whole idea, right? That's what the rationale that they put together, and we'll have to see, how they justify that, all of that. And also just to clarify, this 100,000, this new fee of 103,265 is in addition to the proclamation payment. Again, the 100K proclamation payment was actually vacated. That rule was vacated, so the USS cannot collect this, but we're still waiting on some of the updates. But as of now, that is vacated by courts. So if let's say that is going to be applicable, this will be on top of that, right? On top of that. So for now, anyways, it is not collected, right? So we are yet to see approvals on that. So, but we'll see what happens there. But if let's say that exists, this would be on top of that, right? So that is what. The key thing is, again, both are very different contexts here. So one is based on proclamation, and this is based on rule making. So both are so the fee is going to be paid by the employer. So where so small employers would be the ones that are hit hardest, right? Because about 11,000 small entities are the ones that are filing this H1B, so they'll be hit very hard. And there's no discount as such. All of these. So the cap exempt looks far better. If you look at that, the whole thing, right? So nothing changes. The pressure is on, if it's up to the employer to take that or not, right? So all in all, it's going to be a significant, hike in the price. So these, in addition to the $4,000 fees, the $4,500, the 911 fees that was recently announced. So that also is there. So again, it's the cost is going to really behave. So we'll see what happens, right? The proposed rule is going to be published in August 25th, and then there's a 30-day comment period, and then DHS would review the comments, and then the final rule is published, and it's expected to come in spring 2027. So that's where the target timeline looks like, and provided all of this will make it, right. So we can expect litigation. So again, the critics argue that INA 286M does not let DHS charge just one group, just for other agencies' budgets. So basically, all of these will be really challenged if it really makes it past that. So we'll have to see how they will actually manage this, right? So currently, it may not go to courts right away because until it becomes a final rule. So that's why I'm sure they'll prepare for all of these things. So that's why there's going to be some time for this, right? So the key takeaway, right? This is a proposal. Again, it is not final. If somebody is going to be telling that, oh, you have to pay for more, that is not true. So this is a proposal right now, and does not change any of the fees as of now. It is a proposal. It is notice. It is currently in NPRM status, a notice for proposed rule making. If it is finalized, then it will hit new cap exempt petitions. It won't, extensions, transfers, and all of that will not be touched, and it doesn't impact also the cap exempt jobs. Somebody, if you're employed at universities and research organizations and all of that, right? So and also this also, if you see, the proclamation fee is also separate, that is vacated. So right now, if that exists again, this will be on top of that. So of this fee, if it really makes it through, it's going to be a significant fees that employees may or may not even justify the cost, right? So because if you see the number of petitions that were filed this year, right, based on the proclamation fee, it is pretty less. So again, this is going to also now impact for change of status applications as well who are applying. So it's very likely we'll have litigation and a lot of things will come up. So this is the first update, right? So we'll keep you posted how things move. Again, do not take this as final. This is just a proposal. So we'll see how things move. And thank you for watching. Do subscribe for getting regular updates.